So my name is Shelley James. I'm from the Bishop Museum in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'd just like to give a quick talk today about the things that we are doing at Bishop Museum in terms of digitization of our Pacific collections, and this includes all of the Pacific, including Melanesia. So we have a wide range of research at Bishop Museum, ranging from mountainous botanical fieldwork through to fieldwork in Melanesia, such as Papua New Guinea, and then we also have a rich marine research component in a number of collections. So we're a very diverse institution and have a lot of different digitization activities. Just to give you a little bit of background about the Hawaii Bishop Museum, or Bishop Museum, we were established in 1889, so we've been around for a fairly long time. We have, we believe, the world's largest biological collections from the Pacific region. We have more than 22.3 million biological specimens, and then on top of that we have a huge archive and a rather large library. And a lot of cultural collections which also have a biological component. So we have a lot of specimens and artifacts that we would like to get online and make available to the Pacific region and to researchers and the general public. In 1988 we were designated as the Hawaii State Museum of Natural and Cultural History. And in 1992 designated as the Hawaii Biological Survey. And the goals of the Biological Survey are to locate, identify and evaluate the native and non-native flora and fauna of the region, and to maintain reference collections of each of the biota, the taxa that we have in Hawaii. So we have a lot of invasive species now in our collections, as well as all of our endemic indigenous plant and animal species. In 1998 we expanded that into becoming the Pacific Biological Survey, and so we now try and incorporate all of the Pacific into our activities for research and biological collections. And as it says up there, we've organised more than 100 major biological survey expeditions in Hawaii and throughout the Pacific, so we have a lot of experience throughout the region. Okay. So we, I just wanted to put up some examples of things that we are digitizing in our collections and what we have. So in the bottom corner here, of course, we've got some bats that we have databased, and a lot of botanical collections, and our insect collections, and that all goes into, of course, our databases with that labeled data, labeled information. We generate taxonomic checklists of various organisms, our specialists do, and we have a lot of publications through the Bishop Museum Press, and all of those are slowly becoming available online for use. A lot of them already are available. Up on the top we've got field notebooks, a lot of field notebooks from all those expeditions and adventures that we take out in the field, and that information often doesn't get translated onto the collection data labels, so we need to go back to those, scan those and then link those to the botanical and biological collections. We have huge numbers of slides and photographs that all we hope to scan into the future and make those available and link them to specimens as appropriate. Modern times, of course, up the top we have deep sea diver researchers that go out, take videos instead of collecting things, they're just documenting biodiversity using video. All that needs to be archived and kept and documented. And then, of course, just SLR, the digital images that are all into our collections. And in the middle, it just gives you an example of some of the equipment that we have now available to us at the Bishop Museum. We've been very lucky to get a lot of funding from the National Science Foundation and the Mellon Foundation to purchase equipment. So we have a very nice auto montage system for imaging our insect collections, usually a one-on-one, unfortunately, which takes a lot of time. But when people want to see an insect and we don't want to ship it off, it's a fantastic way of saving us some money and preserving the specimen. We have an inverted scanner called a herb scan for scanning our vivarium specimens. And then we have two camera imaging systems. One's an 80 megapixel imaging system and the other one's a 28 megapixel system. And they're our means of jamming on producing a lot of specimen images very rapidly. It's all a matter of finding a student that will do it, however. So going into now some of the actual projects that we've been working on at Fisher Museum, mostly is in the botany department. That's where I'm focused, working with Herbarium Pacificum. And we have about 10,300 type specimens in our collections, and we have imaged all of those now. They've all been submitted to the JSTOR Global Plants site, so they're all available for anyone to see. We were just at the Fiji Herbarium this morning, and I showed it to the guys and said, look at all the Fiji type specimens that we have online. So that's kind of exciting, actually. So in our collections, we have about 47% of our types are Hawaiian collections, 16% are from Polynesia, 6% from New Guinea and Solomon Islands, 7% from Fiji, and 2% from Micronesia. So we have quite a lot of type specimens from the Pacific region, and all of those are now completely available for anyone to look at without us having to take them out of their little precious room and exposing them to the world. We also got funding from the Mellon Foundation to scan about 6,000 specimens of the approximately 1,000 extinct, rare and endangered plant species that we have in Hawaii, making them available to the world as well through the Global Plants and also through our website. And we also have historical collections, including James Nelson's collections from James Cook's third voyage. And they're kind of neat to look at. So it's from a public point of view, this is the coolest thing we have in our collection, the oldest thing. Look at it, isn't it great? And we can show those to people. So if you're interested in seeing those images, the website's there, plants.jstor.org. One project that I've been working on for the past 3 years has been documenting the floral biodiversity of New Guinea. It's being funded by the National Science Foundation. We work closely with the Papua New Guinea Herbarium. So we have imaged and databased all of our specimens from the New Guinea region, and so Papua New Guinea and Indonesian New Guinea. So it's about 31,600 specimens. We have gone out on multiple expeditions and collected another maybe 3,000 specimens from unique locations that have never been collected before. So we're contributing to expanding the knowledge of the flora of the region through new collections. And all of those collections now have tissues for molecular analysis. So if anyone needs particular material for DNA analysis, for barcoding or whatever, we now have that material available. It's very hard to extract DNA from a lot of the New Guinea specimens due to the humidity and collection problems associated with collecting in those areas. So that's a huge bonus there. I'm in the process of developing a checklist of the Papuan flora. So to date, there's more than 13,200 accepted taxa in this checklist. And so that equates to about 15,000 species. And I'm still going, I'm still finding more and more. So this is a first step to providing a comprehensive checklist of the accepted taxa, available taxa in the country. And associated with all of that is a bibliography of published and rare literature. So everything's linked to a publication. Every species name has its own publication. We've incorporated all our backlog into collections, and all of that is now available too. And then on top of that, all of that data is being repatriated now back to Papua New Guinea for them to use for their own research needs. And I've listed some of the websites on the bottom there where you can find that data if you're interested. The third project that we're involved with in the Herbarium Pacificum is to do with digitization of our Pacific collections, is working with the University of Hawaii and the National Tropical Botanic Gardens in Hawaii, and 17 other Pacific herbaria, forming a consortium of Pacific herbaria which is online, and all that data is slowly becoming available. So the goal there is to digitize all the collections from the Polynesian Micronesia hotspot, which includes also Fiji. So as of the beginning of the year, we digitized or databased about 287,000 records in the herbarium, and we have about 75,000 images available online of those specimens. We're about halfway there. We've got about 150,000 boring specimens to go for imaging. And then the other important thing there is that we're bringing in specialists to look at the collections and to update names and provide taxonomic updates in our collections, which is it's something that hardly ever happens otherwise. There's Max van Belpuy from Leiden looking at some specimens. So just to give you an idea of what we've digitized so far, we've got almost 28,000 specimens from Eastern Polynesia, about 34,000 specimens from Micronesia, almost 200,000 specimens from Northern Polynesia, which includes Hawaii. We have one of the largest collections of Hawaiian species specimens in the world. Western Polynesia, there are 17,000 specimens, and there's 47,000 records from Melanesia. The next project that we have coming up, as if we haven't got enough to do, is working on the macroalgae. We've recently been awarded funding from the National Science Foundation to, through the ADVC program, to image all of our macroalgal collections. So going from the land to the sea. And that will form part of this macroalgal herbarium consortium. There's a collaboration between 48 different organizations in the US to scan all of the specimens. All of that data is actually already online. We just don't have any images, so we'll just be imaging all of those specimens. Some of them are quite gorgeous. And this is Roy Suda, which I forgot to put on the front slide. He's the one of the people at the Herbarium Pacificum. And this data is important because it gives us a spatial and temporal baseline for a lot of research that could be done to look at changes in the biodiversity of the algal flora over time. So all of our data goes here to our website, nsdb.bishopmuseum.org. We have about 400,000 botanical records available online, and this portal actually provides all of our animal collections as well, as much as they've been digitized. So it's a huge database. We've converted all of our online collection databases to become live data. We used to just have a snapshot and they would only get updated every once in a while when we felt like it and we got desperate. But now it's every 3 seconds it gets updated. So that's really exciting for us. We have a program that's created RESTful services to better support the biodiversity data aggregators, and we now have globally unique addresses instead of URLs for each of the web pages. So it's just more streamlined. This next section was given to me by Richard Pyle and Robert Whitten, who work at Bishop Museum, and they wanted me to include some of this. It has to do with digitization. It's what do we do with all this data? And they're working on ways of streamlining further how to merge all of the data into one big mashup that everyone can more easily access. So there's biodiversity data in museum collections. There's data in all the archival materials, the publications that are being scanned now through Biodiversity Heritage Library. There's the new publications that are all electronic. All that data is out there. We have the data that's available through bank and life. We've got these taxonomic nomenclators that are producing data and making that available. And then we've got the data aggregators up the top there. And Richard Pyle and Rob Whitman and their collaborators are working to find a way to make all this a lot more streamlined. And the connecting piece of information here, for the most part, is the taxonomic name. And unfortunately, we have a multitude of homotypic and heterotypic synonyms. This happens to be a fish species. They're fish fanatics, so they use this fish species. But these are all the names linked to just one taxonomic entity. And while we might find that name, Homotomus salutator, easy to recognize, and all those synonyms easy to recognize, it's quite difficult for a computer to be able to recognize that. Whereas if you make that name, link it to a globally unique identifier, a GUID, as they call them, this string of numbers and letters, it's easy for the computer to recognize that and process it, but it's quite hard for us. And so in the back of house, they're using these globally unique identifiers to link all of these taxonomic names and events, taxonomic events, to make everything a lot more streamlined. And this is they're working on this project called a Global Names Architecture. And there's actually two components to this. The first is the Global Names Index, which is aims to optimize and manage information from content providers that treat names as text string alternatives of other data objects. And then the other part is the GNUB, the Global Names Usage Bank, which manages taxon names and their usages, uses these GUIDs to curate taxonomic events, whether that be a name occurring in a publication or a specimen in a collection. And in the next couple of months, all of the checklist data that I've been developing for the Melanesian region is all going to be sucked into this Global Names User Bank and this Global Names Architecture to help streamline the floristic understanding of the Melanesian region. So anyway, that's just some of the things that Fish Museum's been working on, and we couldn't do any of it without all of our volunteers. We have a lot of volunteers that come in and do a lot of scanning and databasing for us, a lot of students that come in as well, and many collaborators, and then the funding sources. Thank you. Thank you, Shelley. Do we have any questions for Shelley? Yes, at the back.
Hold on. The microphone, please.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you're interested about so, in order to access that as an institution, you have to switch to or is that?
You can look at the front end of JSTOR, but they've now changed the rules, and I think it depends on your institution as to whether you can look at the blown-up images or not. But you do get a little thumbnail and the data associated with the images.
One of the things we have in Australia is we really get certain access to government funded research,
Well, all the data is also available on our website for free, and you can look at all of those images there as well.
Did you get your data from Samoa?
Wait, just a second.
How did you get any data from Samoa? Samoa was those who also
What do you mean? How did I?
collections are more easily possible in the world. Samoa.
Oh, these are the historical. They're not new. Yeah, we haven't. I'm not sure how recent our most recent Samoan collections are. They're mostly historical.